Good morning. Welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. I'm Neeraj Shah, and a day of a bit of a, how do I say, a bit of a pullback maybe, and you would say that if you just look at the rising Omicron cases across the world, including India now, including the words of caution, maybe it pays to be a bit cautious in the market simply because you don't know the impact of uh, localized lockdowns or curtailed business activity, or who knows, the supply chain issues coming up again. Because remember, a bulk of supply chain issues came, as corporates told me, not because of any other reason, but because when there was severe COVID wave, ships which would go to a particular port would not be able to release the sailors for 7 days because of the lockdowns in those particular ports. So don't quite know. There's a bit of an uncertainty around, and the uncertainty has risen from what it was maybe 7 to 14 days ago. So you got to keep that in mind. U.S. markets took a bit of a step back. Nothing too alarming, really. You would actually say there's a flattish move for the Dow and the S&P, but Nasdaq, yeah, I mean there was a bit of a rotation out of tech stocks, just 89 points, so hardly any big correction, if you will, but certainly they snapped the 4 out of 5 day rally that we were seeing. So that wasn't probably the best of things. By the way, it's something that's looked very interesting. That while everybody's talking about the real estate sector in India, it's not just in India. Across the world, you're seeing that vacancy rates or demand for real estate has shot up. In the US in particular, the chart that I saw, the US apartment vacancy rate by various classes has really dropped down. So it's not just in India, by the way. I think there is a serious threat of a housing shortage, or the desirable housing shortage in a lot of key markets. Be that as it may, let's get back to markets. So Asia's seeing the bit of a pullback. You're seeing a bunch of these Asian bourses being down in the session today, and the SGX Nifty is no different. A bit of a pullback from what the levels that it was trading at in trade yesterday. So down about 0.25%, and shouldn't surprise anybody. Now we'll get the MOV function up on the screen, but really I doubt it will tell us much about what could be the factor at play today. However, it does show the inherent strength on a good day for our markets. Uh, Splendid up move, 404 advances to 93 declines, and across the board, I think this falling rubber prices, the domestic rubber prices falling, probably led to, and the belief that December will be a very good month for automobile sales, or and a lot of other factors done, some moves done by the governments as well, helped some of these tire companies do really well. So Seat and JK Tire were top draw. Eris Life Sciences, because of that Motilal Oswal note, did well. Stocks like Zensar and some of the others have really shot up, so those are doing okay. BSE and the bonus issue announcement did okay. So a bunch of those stocks did well. But viewers, I'm so happy that you and I spoke about the fact that the reopening play should be approached with caution. Look at the top loser, PVR. Now, let's stick to that for a moment, Virat. Thanks so much. But look at the top loser out there, PVR. And now, with the cases rising in India and the moves that Delhi and Maharashtra have enacted as well, there is sense to be more cautious on these. If the movie producer stocks were listed, I would have advised even more caution out there. It is sad, really, what's happening in that industry, but nobody's fault, really. But yeah, you've got to be careful as an investor out there. So, what's the trade setup for the day today? I would presume that the global cues are tepid, but not alarming. However, after a long time, the Nifty closed above the 20-day simple moving average, which is broadly positive. So you've got to bear that in mind. Like I said, traders need to be wary of trading in the reopening themes. But the really interesting pack is sugar. Uh, Now, peak of crushing season, because the sugar supply is abundant, typically sugar prices tend to be a bit softer, if you will. This time around, historically, this time around, that a higher selling price in the peak crushing season, which tells you a sign of what things are and how different things are for the sugar sector compared to the past. Um, Again, uh, like I was telling yesterday, you got to take stock of the fact that there are some sectors which are looking inherently strong because of the demand. I was referring to real estate yesterday. You could well argue sugar be it. Now, there is always an assumption that it's such a basic, banal commodity play that valuations will not inch up because earnings don't have the recurring nature. I suspect that the next 18 to 24 months will prove some of these theories wrong. Let's wait and watch if a multiple uptick happens or not. But this is a very interesting thing for me. I've looked at this sector for a while. I think these prices are looking pretty interesting. Nevertheless, so do watch out for that, and do watch out for stocks based on news or otherwise. Not too many big newsmakers, unfortunately. I'm bringing whatever little I saw. So GR Infra Projects, it emerged as an L1 bidder for the Noida Metro Rail Corporation for about 593 crores. Raymond finally has officially incorporated a new unit for the real estate business. They invest up to 150 crore rupees in it. Do watch out. Uh, maybe it brings about some traction in Raymond. Who knows? A bunch of pharma companies will launch Molnupiravir under various different brand names, but they all, after getting the DCGI approval, but the 5 names out there. So I just thought instead of getting individual brand names, just know that these are the companies that are going to launch Molnupiravir. You never know. There could be traction into some of these because of the same. Something that we started since yesterday, and we'll try and do it on a daily basis, which is look at some stocks at the small cap end of the market, which had traction yesterday or the last 2 3 days, and decent liquidity and decent market cap. So not obscure names. The automotive stamping, GRM Overseas had a really strong move yesterday, as did Jubilant Industries, by the way. It's sub 1,000 crores, but part of the Bhartia Group, which owns Jubilant Food Works, and the stock was up about up on an upper circuit yesterday. I don't remember whether 5% or 20%, but up on a circuit, and decent volumes, so to say, and a decent pedigree of promoters as well. So these are 2 or 3 names which kind of stood out from the trading pattern perspective, as did, by the way, the new listings. So remember, we were talking about HP adhesives having some strong demand. That stock was on an upper circuit yet again, and Supriya Life, while ended lower from the issue price, but watch out for this. There's been some fairly decent HNI interest, I hear, in Supriya Life as well. So it could be an interesting stock to monitor for the next few days. So these are a few that I thought stood out for me. Now, before something else, just 2 or 3 other things that you want to keep in mind. I think there is a Kotak Institutional Equities report on Team Lease, which wherein they have upgraded the stock to a buy from a reduce. So they had a reduce rating and they've upgraded to a buy rating, a target price of 4420. Virat, is it possible to get the stock price up for Team Lease? Just to see what the current price is. I mean, they are of course saying that Team Lease remains well positioned to see a healthy increase in general staffing, headcount, etc. The stock price currently is at 3876. They are saying that the recent stock price correction offers it buying results in an upgrade. Now, of course, yesterday I think the stock made a bit of a move, 100 odd rupees. Could there be more in store? Is the question. Let's wait and watch. Morgan Stanley is a note on SBI cards with a target price of 1350, or Nirmal Bang is a note on Muthoot Finance, wherein they have upgraded the stock to a buy, target price of 1854. Again, Nirmal Bang's thesis is that the recent correction offers a good entry opportunity. I'm usually a bit wary of such things, but you never know. This is Muthoot Finance, and yeah, their target price is I think 1854. So do watch out. Two big things, viewers. One, I was pretty happy to see FIs turning net buyers yesterday, but in this holiday season, and where FIs activity is largely muted, you take all of that with a pinch of salt. So please be mindful of that. It's not a thing that really uh, makes a change in trend, if you will. At least I don't think so. And last but not the least, something that we should all watch out for, everybody. There's this wonderful chart in a Bloomberg story, which I want to pull up, which is an Apple chart. And it shows that every time Apple has hit a trillion dollar mark, and Apple is very close to 3 trillion. Remember, we'd spoken about this a few days back. So Apple is very close to the $3 trillion mark. And every time Apple hits this $1 trillion mark, the stock corrects, and it makes the US markets correct as well. And for now, Apple has that resistance. It is not quite hit that mark. It was a few days ago about 5-6% away from there. I don't know how many percentage points it's away from that right now, but okay, that chart maybe will come up in a minute. But it shows very wonderfully how throughout its trajectory, it hit $1 trillion. It corrected and brought down the markets along with it. Then it hit the $2 trillion mark, corrected, brought down the markets along with it. The question is, if Apple hits $1 trillion, the $3 trillion mark, will it correct again? Uh, uh, let's wait and watch. I don't quite know if that happens necessarily, but it's something um, that could be pretty interesting. I don't know. We not quite being able to pull that chart up, but let me try and show you on my phone, if you will. Um, but no, I don't think it's turning out. Sorry for that graph. We should have pulled it up, but somehow there has to be some issue with being able to load the chart. But let's wait and watch. If Apple hits 3 trillion, keep in mind uh, there is history to suggest that it brings about a bit of a market correction. I'm not saying it will necessarily happen. But be careful, viewers. Omicron cases are rising. Multiple people have cited this. I was yesterday talking about HV Goenka's tweet about how hospitals are now starting to get inundated even in India. They may not be deadly, the numbers rise, and that brings about investment implications. That's the limited point I'm making. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Have a safe, profitable day ahead. If you're stepping out, please do wear your masks.